This question is asking you to find an end point of a line segment on the graph. So while we'll be using the midpoint formula, in this particular example, it says line segment AB has a midpoint of -2, -2. Okay, so that we're already given the midpoint. And we're given point A, which is located at 4, -5. So the question is, what is the coordinate of point B? Now, if we were to visualize this, point A is at 4, -5. So that's down here. So that's point A. And the midpoint of the total line segment is -2, -2. So my midpoint is here. So that means that point B must be somewhere up here in quadrant 2. And so the question is at specifically what point. So I'll first show you how to solve this algebraically, where we are going to use the midpoint formula. But remember, the midpoint formula has two values, an x and a y. So so this is how our midpoint formula is typically written, where we add the two y values and divide by 2. And that's how we get the midpoint coordinate. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate this formula so I have a spot to put both the midpoint of the x coordinate and the midpoint value of the y coordinate. Okay, so we were told that the midpoint itself was at 2, -2, -2. Okay, so if that is what my midpoint value is, that's the value for capital M in both cases. And we said point A was at 4, -5. Okay, so obviously my 4 is my x value, so that goes here. The -5 is one of my y values. So when we are looking for the coordinate for point B, what we're looking for or solving for is that x2, y2 value, that coordinate point. That's what remember when we say x1, y1, x2, y2, those are my endpoints. So that's what I'm solving for when I am given the midpoint and I'm asked to solve for an endpoint, in this case point B. Okay, so in both cases we want to get rid of that denominator of 2. So of course, if we read this, 4 plus x sub 2 divided by 2, opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by 2 so I can get rid of that denominator. And 2 times -2 is 4. Oh, I wrote that as a squared, sorry. That's supposed to be sub 2. And then I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 on this side as well. And I forgot my negative, which makes a humongous difference. Now I just simply have a simple algebraic expression to solve for in both cases. So here I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. So the x value of endpoint B is -8. And here I have to add 5 to both sides. And y2 is a +1. So this means that point B has a coordinate value of -8, +1. Now let's go back to my graph that I drew up here. And -8 if I extend this out a little bit, +1 definitely falls within that coordinate 2 that we had assumed. And remember, midpoint is the halfway mark. So that even my basic graph here makes sense.